Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Timmy Kenza James. For our new and old subscribers, you're all welcome to today's tutorial. And if you're not yet subscribed, don't forget to subscribe and like this video if you find it helpful. So we are going to be learning how to make this really lovely top, as you can see. So I'm going to be using 1 yard of the blue print and 1 yard of the white print. So without further ado, let's get into it.
So guys, I'm going to be using this really lovely fabric. You can see what it looks like on the right side, and this is the wrong side. I don't like the wrong side at all, so I kind of love the right side. And if you remember that our leotard video that we have, I'm going to be linking it up. It's the same fabric, guys. So, and I also have this really beautiful print, and it's white. I went fabric shopping and I saw it. I saw the black, so the black is lovely. So I might use it for one other video, right? So I got 1 yard of this and a yard of this as well. Then we'll be using our tailor's chalk. I'm using the white for the blue material and the blue for the white material. So the white material is going to be our sleeve, and then I'm using my French curve and my pattern master. Then you want a really nice pair of scissors, and I might be using pins as well. So if I end up needing pins, I'll bring them when I'm ready. So I'm just going to be folding these. Now I'll be marking on the wrong side, but the wrong side is really ugly. So I'm just going to be folding these like so. I have everything seated properly. So what I'm going to be doing, I ended up pinning them down, and I just went ahead to mark to check quarter of my bust measurement plus sewing allowance, and I folded it in half like so, and I measured that. That's how I knew this amount of folding will be enough for what I want to use it for. So I'm going to measure the length of the top. So the top is going to have a side dart on the front, so that's why I'm going to be cutting the front first. So the length of the top that I want to work with is 25 inches, but I'm going to end up, I'm not using this side, so I'll be folding this side by 1 inch. So that would mean I need 26 inches, and because I said I'm going to be needing that on the side, I'm going to make it 27 inches instead. So, or that's on the front, but on the back side is just going to remain 26 inches. Now I'm going to mark 27 inches like so, or let me just make it 28 in case I might need to use 2 inches of that, because y'all know I'm a plus size, so I'm a little bit more busty. So I'm just making 28. Then I'm going to go ahead and rule a line. Now this fabric is stretchy, guys. It's really stretchy, so you can see it stretches both ways. So I'm going to be marking the regular 8 inches half of my shoulder line. Now my shoulder line, half of it will be 9 inches because my shoulder is 18, but I'm using 8 inches because my sleeve is actually a puff sleeve, so using 9 inches would sort of look awkward, so that's why I'm using 8 inches. Then 5 inches, 3 inches regular neckline. Now on the shoulder line, I'm coming down by 1 inch for my shoulder slant, just like you would do on your basic bodies. Now I'm just going to connect that shoulder slant like this to the neckline. On the shoulder part, the shoulder slant, I'm coming down by 8.5, which is my regular armhole line. So I'm going to measure what I have from this starting line, the baseline. I have 9.5, so I'll mark 9.5 here just so I can rule my line. Now I'm just going to go ahead and square this line out. So I'll just go ahead and square this line. So that's going to be my armhole line. Now I'm going to be measuring out my affluence point. Now I'm going to add 2 inches. My affluence point normally would be 18 inches, but I'm going to make it 20 inches. Why? Because I'm going to take a 2-inch dart on somewhere around the bust area. So Sorry, my affluence is 19, but I'll make it 21 because I'm going to take 2 inches on the bust area. So which means I will shorten the length. So that's why I'll mark my affluence. So on the back, I'm going to make the regular 19 inches, but on the front, it will be 21 inches because of that dart that I'm going to be taking on the front. So I'm just going to go ahead and square this line as well. Then I'm using this side, this entire side for my length, so I'm not even going to worry about that. Now on my bust line, I'm going to mark this 8 inches I have here. I'll mark it like so. Then I'll mark quarter of my bust measurement like so. Now this fabric is elastic, so I'm not going to be adding any sewing allowance to it. Besides, I'm not going to be sewing it. I might end up using my overlocking machine to sew this, so it's not a problem. So I'm going to square my shoulder to this point so that I can make my armhole curve. Now I'll use my French curve to sort of draw out my armhole curve. So once I have my armhole curve drawn out, I'm going to determine how wide I want my neckline. So for my neckline, I want it to be 3.5 by 3.5. So I'm going to go ahead and mark 3.5 here, which I have 3 inches standard here. So on this shoulder slant, I'm adding half of an inch. Then I'm coming down by 3.5 as well. Then I'll just go ahead and make that curve like so. So I'll just go ahead and make my curve. Now on my affluence measurement, I'll go ahead and mark my affluence measurement. If you want your top to be to just be straight, right, you can just go ahead and do that. So I'll just mark my affluence measurement, and on the hem line, I'll just come up by 1.5 inch and mark a quarter of my hip measurement. Then I'll just go ahead and connect those points like so, then like so. Now I'm going to go ahead and mark the dart that I said I'm going to take on this side. So I will first of all find my bust point. So I'll mark my bust point, which is 12.5, like so. Then on that point, I'm going to mark a quarter of my bust, half of my bust pan, which is 4.5. So I'll mark it here. Now on this side, I'm going to come down by 1 inch from my armhole line. I'll come down by 1 inch like so. Then on that point, I'll take another 1 inch like so, then another 1 inch. Now I'm going to pivot it towards, this is going to be my dart legs. So these 2 inches, I have 1 inch here, 1 inch here, which is going to be my dart. I'll take it out like this. Now I do not want my bust to get to my bust point measurement, so I'm going to move by 1.5 from my bust point. I'll move away by 1.5 or 2 inches is totally fine. So I'll move it here. Then I'll just go ahead and connect those lines to that point, to my bust. So this place will be my bust apex. So you can see. Now I'll just sort of make a triangular line around here for when I'm sewing. So you can see this is my bust. It has been marked. Now I'm just going to go ahead and cut this panel. Then I'll transfer my dart to the other side of this panel, just so that when I'm sewing it, I would know what I'm doing. You can go ahead and add sewing allowance if you want to, but I don't need to, so I'm not going to be adding any. So guys, I just brought the front panel and laid it on the back, folded the back in half, and I'm going to be altering some part of the measurement. The first alteration is the affluence point. I'll move it up by 2 inches. You remember I told you that when I was drafting the front. So I'll just move it by 2 inches upwards. Now the next alteration is the neckline. For the back neckline, I just want it to be 1 inch. So I'll just mark 1 inch here, and then I'll go up by 2.5 from here, just so I know what I did. Then I'll just go ahead and mark my new neckline. Then every other thing else will be the same. So I'm just going to go ahead and make my lines before cutting. Now, by the time I trace it off, I'll just raise my front side out and go ahead and cut that out. So this is my new affluence point. So on that side, I'll go ahead and measure what I have for my affluence. So like this, then I'll connect a fresh line. Before I cut it out. Now I'm not adding any zipper on this fabric. Remember I told you it's elastic, so that's why I'm not adding any zip allowance. So for this one, I'm going to be measuring, I just folded it in half like so. So I just folded the entire 1 yard. So I'm going to measure the length of the sleeve. So I want to do 27 inches. Now that's because it's a puff sleeve, so I would want it to like gather up a little, but normally my sleeve length would be around 24 to 25, and it's sort of a long sleeve, and I might end up putting no, I won't. I'll just use elastic for the lower side. So I'll mark 27 like so. I'll mark 27 like so. Now I'm just going to go ahead and draw a straight line like this. Now I'm just going to come down like so. By normally my cap's height will be 4.5 to 5 inches, but I'm using around 8 inches for this one because I want it to be pleated on the upper side of the dress. So I'll just use 8 of the blouse of the sleeve, sorry. So I'll just go ahead and draw a straight line. Now I'll just by freehand, because I'm going to be pleating it, so I'll just go ahead and make I'll just go ahead and connect a line like this, like a dome, like so, just by freehand. I'm not even measuring anything there. Now on the length side, I'm going to come in by 5 inches. That's just to give it a little bit of shape, and I don't want too much gathering around the wrist, so I'm just going to create that sleeve shape. Then I'll cut it out. I'll just turn this like this. Now cut out like so. Now I'm just going to go ahead and cut another sleeve. This is what the sleeve will look like. So by the time I gather it up, you can see it will puff up. So I'll cut the other sleeve, then we head over to the sewing machine to sew. So guys, I've threaded my machine and I'm going to be using my serger mostly for it, except for the neckline where I'm going to be piping it with my regular machine. So first off, on the wrong side, I've traced out my dart on this other side. So what I'm going to do is to go ahead and sew my dart. So I'm just going to hold it properly. Now you have to be careful and make sure everything is done nicely, because I'm using a serger and you know it does have a blade, so there are no rooms for mistakes, guys. So you just go ahead, except of course you're using your regular machine, so you just go ahead. No rooms for mistake at all. I'm putting emphasis on that fact that there's no room for mistakes, guys. So you can see, and by the time I open it, you can see this is what it looks like. So I'll do the other side. So I'll pin it down. When you fold it, you should pin it down away from the dart a little. Then I'll just find and I'm getting towards the end of the dart. I'm just going to shift. I'm sewing it outwards a needle, so that the dart point does not end up with a sharp line there. So I'm done with my dart, and thankfully I didn't ruin the garment, so I'll just lay that out. Now I'll grab the back side and then match the neck. You can do this with your regular sewing machine. I'll just match the shoulder point and I'll go ahead and sew. I'll sew the other side as well. Make sure everything is matching properly. If you can't control it, go ahead and pin it. If you have a serging machine that is a 4-thread serger, guys, and you've not been using it, this is an opportunity for you to use it. So here we go. Now I'm going to sew the bodies, then I'm going to, before fixing the sleeve, so I'll just match the bodies. Can see everything is nice and clean. We have our top already. Now I'm just going to go ahead and do the sleeve. For the sleeve, I'm going to be closing the side seam allowance. Guys, I know I should change this weaving thread to white, but this, if you know how a serging machine works, you will know that it's really it's hard work. So since it's not a client's outfit, it's mine, I'm just going to go ahead and use the black thread. I'm so sorry about this. Please, if you're working with this, if you're making yours, please ensure to change your thread back to white. It makes it more professional and nicer looking. So please change yours to white. For me, I'm so lazy, I can't do that. So you can see it's not even looking that bad as I thought it would be. So I'm just going to flip it over to the right side. Then on the sleeve, I'm going to do a lot of working with my pin. So for now, I'll put off my serger, then I'll just match my seam and I'll be pleating it as I'll pin and pleat until everything balances out. So I'm just going to go ahead and do it like this. I'll pin it, move it further and pin. until I'm done pinning. When I pin halfway through the armhole, mind you, I'm placing right side to right side of my sleeve, and also when I get to halfway into my armhole, I'll start pleating. Let me keep this like so you see properly. So I'll pleat. Before then, I'll find the midpoint. I'll find the midpoint of the sleeve and make a notch there. So what you want to do is to find the midpoint of the sleeve and notch it. So I'll make a notch around here, which is the midpoint, before I start pleating. So the notched point, you bring it to the midpoint of your shoulder. This sewing line on your shoulder, you just bring it there and pin. Then you pleat whatever you have left into your garment. I would like to start pleating from the shoulder point. So just pleat like so. And pin. You pleat some more. And pin. You just keep pleating and pinning. There's no rhyme to how I'm pleating. I'm just doing it. If you want rhymes to yours, you can go ahead and measure it out. Maybe 1 inch or ½ inch of pleat, you do that. But mine has no rhyme or reading. So you can see I've pleated it. Then I'll just flip this over and do the same thing. I'll do the same thing to the other side of the armhole, guys. By the time you're done, this is the wrong side of my blouse. So you can see the sleeve is inside. So I've pinned everything down like this. I've made my pleats and you can see everything. So I'm going to weave round, serge round here, or overlock it round. Just turn my overlocker back. Now you have to be careful so that your needle does not match or sit on any needle. So when you serge a little, you remove your needle. So that's how I'm just going to be doing it. You take out the needle you take out your pins before the needle gets even close to them. So don't forget to take out your pins, guys. It can damage your needle. It will just break your needle if you don't. So you can see the sleeve. This is what the sleeve looks like for now. So now I'm just going to go ahead and do the other side of the sleeve, then I'll come back to show you the entire dress. So at this point, guys, this is what it looks like. I went ahead to overlock the hem. So guys, there was an error when I was cutting this. I forgot. You remember I told you that the front side was longer than the back because of these 2 inches that I used for this dart here to give me allowance for my bust. I forgot to cut out that 2 inches, so it was a bit longer on the back. So I just went ahead to cut it out and overlocked it. So that was why I have an overlock in here. So, and then I'm also going to be adding elastic on the sleeve. Now for the neckline, at this point, you can see I overlocked it as well. Now I'm going to cut out a bias tape, which I'm going to use to pipe the neckline. But before then, let me cut out the bias tape. So I have this fabric left from everything I've done so far. I have this fabric left. So I'm going to be cutting it on bias. So I'm not cutting out a straight strip. So I'm going to measure what I have on the blouse neckline. So I have around 25 inches. So I need the line to be 25. So just find a spot where I can do 25 inches like so. Then I'll use that side. So guys, at this point I have my bias done. You can see it's nice, and this is the interior. Now I'm going to pipe this side. What I'll do is I'll just, from the one side of the shoulder, what I'll do, I'm just going to go ahead and I'll just tuck the neckline in. Then I'll just hold it like so. Now I'll use a pin to pin that down. So that's what I'm going to be doing until I pin everywhere around. Then I'll start sewing. So now I'll just go ahead and sew. Now as I'm sewing, I will ensure that it's catching both I'm sewing on the right side, by the way. So I will ensure it's catching I will ensure that what I folded at the back side is a little bit bigger than what I have on the front, so that as I'm sewing, it will be catching that side as well. So you really don't want to sew this side fast. You want to go one stitch at a time. When you get close to this side where you started, what you want to do is to cut out your excess fabric like so. Then I'll come to the point where this matches as well and cut out the excess. Then I'll just go ahead and join this together. I'll open up my folded edges like so. Then I'll match right sides together and go ahead and sew. Chop off some of the sewing allowances. By the time you're done, you flip it back to normal, you can see. Then you continue sandwiching that and you continue your stitch.
So by the time I was done, I went ahead to hem it, and this is the finished look. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give me a thumbs up, share this video with your friends, subscribe and hit the notification bell to get notified whenever I have a new video up on the channel. See you in my next tutorial, guys. Bye.